225th anniversary of his birth. And if you start researching into his birth, born in 1789, we came to Reading in 1826, and for 5 or 6 years almost, he was editor of what was called the Reading Adler, which was now the Reading Eagle. And during that time, it was a time of very intellectual ferment in the U.S., and it was the election of Andrew Jackson in 1828, which was very significant. But Liszt himself came with a whole rich background in economics, having studied and really transformed German economy, and Professor Wendler is going to tell you all about it. The real secret to this is the connection that we have with Tamaqua. And so when I contacted Gail and Eric and others here, and Donnie and others that I communicated by email, it's the first time I met you in person, is we're excited to come up here. And Professor Wendler, Eugen Wendler, Eugen Wendler, has been studying the life of Friedrich List for 41 years. 41 years.
43.
43. I missed 2 years. 43 years. And so it's been a fascinating account of Friedrich List. And so he's going to tell you more about it. He has a quick PowerPoint to be put through. And so we'll get started. But I want to thank all of you folks for inviting us here, and for the library to have us here, and for Eric and Donnie and everyone else, and from Schuylkill County, you're the research director of the Schuylkill County. So in honor of all this for Schuylkill County coming up from Berkshire, I wear my Yingling shirt today. So that's the reason I have my Yingling shirt. So without any further introduction, and by the way, this is Donna Blag, who has translated Professor Wendler's latest book into English, and right now we don't have too many copies of it. There's been a little bit of a discussion on this when it's listed at Barnes & Noble. It originally was listed at $179 per copy. I know that's probably far outside the range of a bestseller, but it would be, we're looking at ways to help reduce that cost and maybe get it down to about $40 volume. So we can talk about it later on if anybody's interested. We'll make a list and we'll get copies, and I'm going to be in Germany a couple weeks from now. I can bring some back. So we'll be all set with that.
But we have a limited number of copies that we can sell at a price of $40. So unfortunately, this is a book that is relatively expensive to print, especially since the readership is a fairly limited group of people. So we have only a small edition, and we've been told by the Springer Publishing Company, which is the #1 academic publishing company for academic books in Germany. We've been told by them that they want to push the e-book version. And this is why the hard copies, I guess, will be only sold on demand, published and actually printed on demand. So, of course, the e-book is considerably cheaper. In fact, I have here some flyers on the book. But I can give you right now.
You'll be able to download that for about $30 when it's available on ebook.
Actually, it's $24.90.
Oh, 24, okay, better.
So you're welcome to take.
Thank you. Without any further,
fly on the book.
Dr. Eugen Wendler.
So, dear Tom, thank you for your nice presentation. It's really, first of all, I must apologize me for my bad pronunciation in English language, but I hope you can understand what I would like to tell. First of all, I'm very, very glad to be here in Tamaqua at this day. It was a very, very long wish to see where Liszt has been, and he has written, one can say, history. Now we have a wonderful day. I couldn't imagine that this could be better to see the place of Tamaqua and Portrait. We thought that I should only speak about his activities here in Tamaqua, and because today night I have a longer speech at the Historical Society in Reading, and for this presentation I had collected some pictures, and afterwards in the second part of my short presentation I'll show you these pictures and give you some comments. Okay? So, now I read about the discovery of coal mines and co-founding of one of the first railway companies in the New World. Yeah, yes, we can say in the world. Not only in the New World, in the globe. Translated by.
What are you studying for at FLC?
An investment boom occurred around 1825 in Schuylkill County, which borders on Berks County. I hope it's correct what I have written. Significant deposits of anthracite coal had been discovered near Pottsville, attracting tens of thousands of soldiers of fortune in the region. Friedrich, being the quiet and attentive observer that he was, could not resist this magical pull. He decided to travel the 70 miles from Reading to Pottsville and do his own research on the matter. He found out that the coal bed stretched to the northeast. He followed its course and came across the second source of the Schuylkill River, namely the Little Schuylkill, approximately 30 miles from Pottsville. In an area where the town of Tamaqua is located today, he discovered a rich anthracite coal bed that by far surpassed the deposits of Pottsville. They were even closer to the next market in the city of Philadelphia. Further exploration proved that the nearby Mahoney Valley also had considerable deposits. Both sources were located in the Blue Mountains, which at the time were nearly untouched by man. If we consider that the first steam-driven railway of the world between Stockton and Darlington began operation in 1825 and was only known in North America, from hearsay, we realize how progressive Liszt has to have the idea to build a railway from Tamaqua to Pottsville, 22 miles away, in order to transport coal. The coal would then be transported by boat from Port Lincoln, located on the Schuylkill Canal, to Philadelphia. Neither the mountain ridge that lay between the two towns, nor the mountain river that flowed between huge boulders could deter from Liszt pursuing his project. He contacted the landowners in the area and promised them that he would build a railway to the Schuylkill Canal within 5 years' time, if they were willing to sell him half of their land at a favorable price. Furthermore, Liszt managed to enlist the support of the governor's nephew, Dr. Isaac Hester, for his project. It was easy to convince the landowners that the land they kept would increase considerably in value with the construction of the railway. Because they were all willing to sell, Liszt and Hester managed to buy 10,000 acres of anthracite coal deposits and 70,000 acres of forest, which was most important for the future mining project, as well as the naturally suited area necessary to found two cities. They first contacted the Schuylkill East Branch Navigation Company, founded in 1815, which on February 20th, 1826, had received the permission from the Pennsylvania State Congress to build the canal from Tamaqua to Port Clear. However, the company was not able to raise the necessary capital, whereupon List suggested that they abandon the canal project and build his railway. His persuasive initiative was successful, and the Schuylkill East Branch Navigation Company applied for one of the first railway licenses in America and in the world. The license was granted on April 15, 1828. At the same time, List and Heather sought to secure the financial of the project. Looking for financial support, they traveled 3,000 miles in 14 months. Incredible. After strenuous efforts, they finally managed to obtain a large part of the funding from Thomas Biddle and Company, a financial broker in Philadelphia. Together with other investors, List and Heather founded the Little Schuylkill Navigation, Railroad and Coal Company on April 29, 1829. Their equity capital amounted to $700,000. Isaac Heather and Friedrich List were appointed presidents, and Edward Biddle, Thomas' brother, was appointed director. A few months later, List and Heather transferred the coal mines they had acquired to the stock company in exchange for capital shares in the company. There had not been such a long railroad anywhere in the United States before 1829. In 1809, Thomas Laper has built the first railway in Pennsylvania in order to transport stones from a quarry. Two other railways had been built between 1816 and 1818 to transport coal. Neither of these railways was longer than 1 mile. In 1827, a railway with a length of 9 miles. In 1828, 1 mile, one with 1 mile, and in 1829, one with a length of roughly 4 miles has been built. The wagons that were used on all these rails were either pushed or pulled by workers. List and Heather followed their modest predecessors with the brilliant idea of building the longest railway in Pennsylvania. From the beginning, List's plan was to move the wagons not with human labor or animals, but with a steam engine. After the financing of the project had been clarified, the company began searching for a capable engineer who would be in charge of construction. List and Heather found a recruited Monsieur Robinson, a young man of 27 years. The groundbreaking ceremony took place on June 1st, 1829, and on November 8th, 1831, the 22-mile stretch was completed, an incredible feat when we consider that the workers had to reclaim land 17 times from a torrential river in order to construct the railway. I don't know if you have a picture of Monsieur Robinson. So, it's curious. Maybe 20 or 30 years ago, I could buy a share of the Philadelphia company, railroad company. And Monsieur Robinson was one of the two presidents or directors of this railroad company, and on this share I have found a picture of Monsieur Robinson. Maybe this is the onlyest picture which exists. So if you need or you want this picture, I could send you a copy of this. So the rail bed was first planted with wooden rails that were fitted with iron. During the first year of operation, the coal-filled wagons were pulled by mules and horses. It was not until the winter of 1833 that the locomotives Comet and Katowice that List and Robinson had ordered finally arrived in Philadelphia. Because the Schuylkill Canal was frozen, the locomotives had to be disassembled and transported via ox cart to Tamaqua. They were the first locomotives in the United States that had regularly transported coal. The ceremonious inauguration of the Little Schuylkill Railway in 1831 took place without its initiator and unflagging motor. List was returning from a trip to Europe at the time. In his opening speech, he commemorated List's pioneer work by saying, "I would like to express my appreciation for the flattering words that have been spoken on my behalf. At the same time, I have to express my regret that someone is missing, someone who is fully entitled to share this praise with me, someone with whom I have had the honor to work on this project. I am speaking of Professor List, whose entrepreneurial spirit and public spirit is well known and who is currently traveling home from Europe, where he spent the last year introducing the Europeans anthracite coal. He went back for a market research if he could sell the coal from here in France, in Paris. Together we planned and prepared the Little Schuylkill improvements. Therefore, I am especially pleased to acknowledge how this talent, acumen and perseverance has led to the successful completion of our work. The steam engine with 16 wagons traveled the stretch between Tamaqua and Port Clinton in 2.5 hours, with each wagon carrying a load of 3 tons. The train drove back and forth 2 times per day, so that approximately 200 tons of coal could be transported daily. So I would shorten my speech and only I'll conclude as a result. List was greatly influenced by the American railway experience and by the intellectual discussion in the US regarding the significance and transportation facilities for the economic development of a country. He acknowledged this influence in a preface to the National System of Political Economy, his main economic book, translated in several foreign languages. I used to view the importance of transportation as it was taught by the value theory. I had only observed the singular effects of transportation and only with respect to market expansion and the reduction of prices for material goods. I have only just begun to see transportation from the point, excuse me. I have only just began to see transportation from the point of view of the theory of productive resources and their influence on the national system of transportation, thus their influence on the entire economic, intellectual and political life of a society and on the power of a nation. I now recognize the interdependency between manufacturing potential and the national transporting system, and the fact that neither can thrive without the other. In this way, I was able to tread the material more comprehensively than any other national economist before me. I believe I can correctly state that I am the first national economist to clearly show the necessity for and utility of a comprehensive railway system. So I hope you could understand this. So this is only about the half of the whole subchapter in. So some anecdotes, respective some pictures of Liszt's biography. Please take the first picture.
Wait a minute.
Down the arrow.
Yeah. So this is an absolutely unknown oil painting, painted by Liszt's youngest daughter. She was born in Reading, and she painted this picture in 1881, 35 years after Liszt's death, because she would conserve the image, the face of Liszt, especially his bright eyes, his visionary eyes, and without his glasses, because the most famous picture is that one in Germany, but the daughter don't like it, because she says the artists had no good impression of his face, and she liked this picture. So this picture is in possession of Reading University, and we have today an exposition of my collection, this collection, and there I have presented this picture, this oil painting for the first time. The next picture. So this is Liszt's grave on the cemetery of Kufstein. The Kufstein is situated in Austria, in Tyrol, the frontier city between Austria and Bavaria, and yeah, so, and the next one, please. And this was the old form, the old, and this grave was supported not by Reutlingen or by Kufstein, but by Bohemian industrialists from Prague, and they saw the historical importance of Liszt's activities, and therefore they sponsored this grave, because he had such a lot of enemies in Germany in due to the railway building and his political activities and so on, and they sponsored it. So next, please. And this is a small, 1 meter high, tough column Liszt's N, sponsored by Taylor, who was, as a boy of 10 years, in the group where
the search committee that looked for Liszt's body. He was a young boy, and he accompanied his father in this search committee.
Next, please. And this is a Liszt monument monument in Kufstein, a wonderful monument with a wonderful view to,
The valley.
well, yeah. Next, please. The backside of this monument has this poem. Donna, please be so kind and. Oh, Donna, can read it, but.
No, just give me
No,
the book.
one more. Yes, please be so kind. And comment.
I got it in English.
In English, yes, translated in English.
Yeah, I had to translate these poems as well, so I can't just, spontaneously break out in poetry. So I'm going to read what I translated. An advocate without pay for his homeland took pain. A fighter whom no gold could have restrained. A hero whose vision reached more than afar. A sower whose home was a tent made of stars.
Next, please. This is a
The tannery.
tenor. Liszt's father was a tenor, and this is here. It was his
Workshop. Who's
manufacturing. So in Reutlingen, where Liszt was born.
The father's factory.
Father's factory. You see a picture about the heavy work, the heavy work, and naturally it was absolutely unhealthy and es hat gestunken.
It stunk.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was,
yeah.
the odor was incredible.
Okay.
A tannery.
Okay. So, yeah, here in Blaubeuren, this is about 70 kilometers away from Reutlingen. He has learned a scriber. Yeah?
He learned to be a scrivener.
A scrivener. Ja. Ja, das ist jetzt uninteressant.
Okay.
Das, Liszt in the age of 28 years. This was a transportation in that time. Then he was in Strasbourg for the first exile. And here there were the first confusion with Franz Liszt. As very often, also in Germany, when I say Liszt, many people believe that it is Franz Liszt. And well, also, ich weiß nicht, ob man, das reicht jetzt.
Yeah, okay.
Oder? Ja?
Ja, ja.
Okay, die Story lassen wir jetzt weg.
Okay.
Yeah? So, the next exile of Liszt was in Switzerland, but I wouldn't like to. He came in a very storm, and they believed to spring on the Tell's blade from William Tell, but it was necessary. They came in without bigger problems to the next.
They thought they would have to jump off the boat in this storm onto this where Wilhelm Tell's story took place, but in fact they managed to get to shore.
Yeah. So then he was, because he was immigrant and there were problems, that he got the allowance to stay in Switzerland, and the Behörden, the Bürger,
Authorities.
the authorities verzögert him.
They delayed.
Yeah, and therefore he had to spend 2 days in a prison in Basel. Yeah.
Yeah. Vielleicht sollten wir ganz kurz erläutern.
Ja, das say so good.
Yeah, I would like to just say a few words for why, so that they understand why he was in jail and why he had to immigrate, why he had to leave Germany. You must understand, you may already know, that he was also a representative of the city of Reutlingen in the Parliament of Württemberg at the time. And his constituents in Reutlingen asked him to write a petition to the governor, actually to the king at that time, with their grievances regarding the bureaucracy and the corruption of the administration of Württemberg. And because he was a scrivener, he of course was able to do this. So scrivener means, of course, all documents had to be handwritten, so there were no typewriters, no computers, nothing like that. So that was his job, and he was quite eloquent with the pen. So he wrote this petition, and then he was basically persecuted for this and prosecuted for this. Criminal charges were brought against him, so he was just basically the messenger for his constituents. But nevertheless, the criminal charges were brought against him, and he was sentenced to prison. And the only way at that time to avoid such a prison sentence would be to immigrate, to be basically banned from the country, and to accept that. And of course this broke his heart, but he went first to France, to Switzerland, to different places, trying to escape this imprisonment. He also went to Paris, to London, and it took a long time for him to actually realize that he had to leave Europe. And General Lafayette, as you probably know, asked him to, when he met in Paris, he asked him to accompany him in the United States on this triumphant march that he had on the Atlantic seaboard. He should have stayed in America. He definitely should have stayed, because he had a good life here. He was immediately introduced into the highest circles of politicians. He knew actually 4 presidents. He knew Adams, he knew Jackson, Van Buren, and Madison personally. He was only here for 7 years, but he met, presidents-to-be and former presidents in that time. So he had actually a good life here, considering he was an immigrant, didn't have any command of the English language when he first arrived. Had to first be a farmer because he couldn't speak the language. So it took a while before he was actually able to use the pen and be the intellectual that he had always been.
7 years here.
7 years.
And family. We didn't talk family at all.
He brought his family over here too. He basically unloaded them in Harrisburg. And then said, well, I'm going to go join General Lafayette, so you all go to school now and be good kids, and I'll be back in a few months.
Just like a deadbeat dad kind of thing.
Well, his family moved a total of 31 times. 33 times. He had a very patient wife.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And the children he brought to the United States were between 3 and 7 years old.
Hi, Gail.
Okay, next picture.
How are you?
He is describing how difficult it was for the family to emigrate, and he in his diary he has noted that there was one of the loveliest days with a wonderful sunshine. So when they went to the Pfalz, to the Pfalz,
Palatin, it's a part of Germany.
but they went very, very slowly because they
hesitated. They didn't really want to leave. They thought, how are we going to ever leave this beautiful landscape? And
yeah.
they didn't know what to expect in the new world.
And this was the diligence, the coach, and
The name of the coach.
there is a nice story. First, the driver went normal,
Slowly.
slowly, and then came another diligence. Diligence has, it's in French, rapid coach. And suddenly, the 2 drivers made race, and so far that so fast that Mrs. List got.
She became unconscious.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Fainted.
Oh my God.
And
Scared to death.
when one road was broken,
One wheel was
the wheel was broken, the race had an end. And the next,
That would do it.
so you see
Here they
the
are.
race of that ship. Delicious.
Wow. Wow.
And this is a ship, it's a packet boat, like Henry, which took this to the
New World.
New World.
You should also say that they were also called the coffin ships, just like
Coffin
the
ships.
Irish were on.
Yeah.
They came.
Yeah.
But the
A
Germans
lot of the
called them-
immigrants
the
did,
Germans
right?
called them coffin ships also.
Next, please. So, he lists as farmer in Harrisburg.
Wow.
So he was not a very successful farmer.
No.
He called himself a Latin farmer, you know, an intellectual farmer. Didn't work out for him.
So, and here's is a nice story to Benjamin Franklin. Liszt found a job as editor of the Reading Adler, and he wrote some nice articles, also some anecdotes, and there was one of these anecdotes I would like to tell you. Benjamin Franklin was ambassador in France, and he heard about the intellectual of France, that in Europe, especially in France, is everything much more better than in the undeveloped United States. And Benjamin Franklin was so angry that he decided to organize a meal, a dinner. And to this dinner he invited and selected 10 French men, intellectuals, and 10 Americans. And he set the Frenchmen on the one side and the Americans on the other side. And after a short time they got in a very heavy discussion, and they repeated her meanings in Europe is everything better than in the United States. In Europe is also the cattle much more bigger than in the United States, and the streets, and so on. And so Franklin waited a little bit, and then he said, we can prove this. Is this opinion correct? Please, gentlemen, stand up from your chairs. And so 10 little
puny,
one
bald-headed Frenchman.
meager Frenchmen stood on the one side, and on the other side 10 big
strong Americans.
Americans. And so Franklin asked, gentlemen, can you say that in Europe is everything better than in the United States? And now he asked them sit down, and naturally the French were ashamed, and it began a heavy laugh. And Liszt's comment to the story was, from this day the French don't think that in France is everything better than in the United States. But my comment is that this is a little bit
Premature.
Yeah. So you understand what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Benjamin Franklin, the story. Another in France, he came together with two very famous immigrants, Ludwig Börne, a poet, a Jewish poet, German, and Heinrich Heine. You know, probably you know the name Heinrich Heine, who is a very, very famous, also Jewish poet. So, and just before I told you something that it gives often.
There was confusion.
There's a confusion between Friedrich List and Franz Liszt. And Liszt's last domicile domicile was in Augsburg, and at that time Franz Liszt has given 3 concerts in Augsburg, and there were a lot of confusion
between the two.
because Franz Liszt got lots of letters and
Fan mail.
fan mail and invitations and flowers and so on.
From the ladies, you have to
From
say.
the ladies,
From
from
these
the
young
ladies, yeah, from the ladies. And Liszt also, so they lived only some houses away, and then Franz Liszt has visited Friedrich Liszt, and they excused
Exchange.
yeah.
So by mistake,
Yeah,
these love letters from all these ladies arrived at Friedrich Liszt's house. And he's opening these letters thinking, oh my God, what's happened? Whereas Franz Liszt received the correspondence that would have normally gone to Friedrich's house. And
That's amazing.
but they finally clarified it
yeah.
and exchanged letters again.
Wow.
So Liszt was from Augsburg. He made some very important journeys to Belgium, to Austria and Hungary, and to England, to Great Britain. So, and in all the time you explained the political problems he had, and from all the time the Austrian Chancellor Metternich was the most powerful politician in Europe in the first half of the 19th century. And they had a very, very strong observation system. And Liszt's activities were observed during all the years.
So Metternich was also very suppressive, very repressive.
So, but he was very well accepted by the famous Hungarian freedom fighter Lajos Kossuth. So, thank you very much for your attention. I must excuse me, this was not the PowerPoint presentation for today's evening. This was my German.
I wonder why it's not translated.
No,
I translated it.
so but there was a little bit confusion. So today night I shall show this evening I shall show another presentation.
So everyone's invited to come to Reading. Check it out.
Question.
Yeah. Oh yes. Naturally.
A couple children. He had children ages between 3 and 7. How many children did he?
Yeah. First he had a stepson, and he stayed in the United States as a doctor for homeopathy settled in Pittsburgh, and was the founder of the Brattleboro water cure. We discussed it when we came to Tamaqua. You can find it in the internet, so I cannot explain some more. And then he had 3 own children, 2 daughters and 1 son, in the age of between 3 and 7 years. And the 4th children,
The 4th child.
was born in Reading. The Caroline, named Lina, and all the children were very talented, they had a very strong and lively friendship between to Clara Wieck, respective Clara Schumann and Robert Schumann, and Felix Mendelssohn Bartholdy and Franz Liszt. They had girlfriends with Franz Liszt, and they spoke French, and they said together to another, Mon cousin, ma cousine,
My cousin.
my cousin, yeah. But naturally they aren't.
Yeah, they were not cousins, but because of the similarity of names, they jokingly called each other cousins.
Yeah. List is written with L-I-S-T and Franz Liszt L-I-S-Z-T.
The other thing, you mentioned the railroad, Little Scoop of Coal and everything. It took 3-ton load, a 3-ton load.
Okay.
And it went from Tamaqua to Port Clinton.
Yeah.
2.5-hour trip,
Yeah.
right? And how many times a day did you say?
Twice.
Twice, it went twice a day.
Twice.
Twice a day.
Twice a day. So they could transport about 200 tons per day.
I have a question for everybody here. Is that railroad still in use by Andy Muller?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is used
And the original rail line is surveyed by Moncure Robinson, is what we're using.
So you know
Yeah,
Moncure
yeah,
Robinson.
yeah.
And do you think that there is existing a picture?
Not that I know of. We don't have one at the
No?
Tamaqua Historical Society.
Yes.
You do, you do.
I have one.
You
Now,
have one.
I have this picture, yes.
down in Port Clinton, there's
Maybe
a.
you can send me.
We're gonna stop in Port Clinton.
You
Oh,
can
you were
exchange.
there.
You
We're
can
gonna stop on the
exchange
way
it.
back.
I will see that you get one.
No?
I don't believe we have.
Do you think though that there are any documents?
Yes, with the Reading Railroad, he did at Port Clinton, he changed the river.
Yeah.
He changed the river at Port Clinton because it would have been, so we had to take that out. And then we have all the documentation on that.
Can I get?
Also, when you go to Port Clinton, there's a marker for him or for his home, I believe. You'll see a historic marker
For Clinton, for,
in
for,
Port Clinton
for,
for Moncure Robinson.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a historic marker.
But the railroad is used for transporting coal right now, or it's not passing, you're not using it?
And no, passenger only limited to special runs, tourism. And the marker, by the way, is a PHMC, I think. The state, Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission has a marker there. I took a photo of it years ago.
But there is a passenger train that runs there. We could take this train.
No, it's
No.
a special, it's a
Oh,
special,
special.
it's a fall foliage excursion,
Okay.
that type of thing.
So now what they're doing now at this time of the year, because of the changing of the leaves, that they're making these tours because our leaves are changing now. And it's called foliage.
But the rest of the time, you're using it for what? Right now,
Andy Muller,
Candy, yes,
Yeah.
it's true.
it is an industry for him. He ships, and there is coal that still
I
runs.
understood he was also using it to transport a lot of the sand that's used in the fracking process for the shale. So,
That
that's
may be.
what I heard. I don't know if is that true?
As far as I know, it's true.
You're not affected by that here? The shale? That's over north.
Ja, weet je nog abgebouwd is? Dit is nog de rest. Ja, daar.
Is coal still being mined here? We saw some coal right along the railway as we came in about 5 miles out.
Yeah, there is. No,
Not much, but
Not
most
much,
of it being strip mined.
Strip mine.
But there are a few deep mines. We have one in Pottsville.
Okay.
We have one in Pottsville, deep mine.
and we hang in for site.
And unfortunately, there's nothing left of the canal. Where they used to ship it from Pottsville, from Pottsville down to Port Clinton. That canal's gone. There's a small piece of the canal of a lock down in Auburn. And you can't get to it, it's on private property.
There's nothing in Port Clinton at the canal.
No.
But what's interesting is you said about the 17 crossovers. And I mean, that would probably still be today. I mean, this is the original line here.
Right.
And we celebrate that when we have these special excursions. We have, once a year, we have in the paper, it's running in the original 1831 or whatever year.
This original coal vein is called the Mammoth Vein. And the Mammoth Vein is probably 18 miles this way, and then another 18 miles north. The largest coal vein in the world. It continued, it's called the Mammoth, like the elephant. Yes.
And how old did he live to be? I mean, I could figure that out by the dates, I guess. but
1846.
Ja, da ist er gestorben, wie alt war er?
56, 56 years.
56, and passed away from Why?
He killed himself.
Oh, he did? Oh.
For what?
Didn't know
He
that.
killed himself. He was basically depressed because of all this persecution and a lack of recognition. He was ahead of his time. He was a visionary, and he basically wanted to see Germany united. At that time, it was a lot of little bitty states that were still paying, you know, tariffs and things like this, and he wanted all of that eliminated. He looked to England and saw that they already had the steam engine and locomotives, train systems, and they were a united country, and he said, well, this is what we need here in Germany and France as well. And but he couldn't get anyone to really to go with him or to give him a position as the director of a railroad. So he was basically still blacklisted from the time when he had written that petition for Reutlingen. He had not been rehabilitated, and his work was never recognized, and he was just, he got depressed. He was basically depressed.
Well, how is he celebrated now in Germany? Does he have a title as like the father of the German railroad or the, you know, what?
You know, the first, this railway, the Little Schuylkill Railway,
Right.
was finished at the end of 1831. And the first railway in Germany between Nuremberg and Fürth was established or realized at the end of 1935, nearly 4 years after this.
1835.
1835.
1835. 4 years later.
Yeah, but it was only 6 kilometers long. This is only 4 miles, and it was on a flat terrain. And here we have 22 miles.
22.
And 17 times the crossing of the Little Schuylkill. And then when Liszt came back to Germany as American consul for the Kingdom of Saxony,
Saxonia?
Saxony.
Saxony?
He agitated in Leipzig, and he convinced the Saxonian merchants to build the first long-distance railway in Germany. And he could convince the merchant to finance it, and this is the first part of this railway was implemented.
Was developed, was built.
Was built in 1837. So today we have the 225th birthday of Friedrich Liszt and the 175th birthday of the first long-distance railway in Germany. And so Liszt is very famous as a railway pioneer. And you know, Germany was divided in the Federal Republic and in the German Democratic Republic. And in Dresden there was a university for transportation science, logistics and so on, and it had the name Friedrich Liszt University. And naturally, after the Second World War, in the German Democratic Republic, there were published more books about Liszt than
in
on
West
the other
Germany.
side, and the West.
Wow.
And this is a paradox because,
Yeah.
of course, Marx was the economist
Yeah.
that was recognized by East Germany. But because the railway line he built between Dresden and Leipzig was located in East Germany, they recognized this accomplishment, this achievement.
Professor Wendler, I think you told me that when List was trying to arrange financing for the railway in Germany,
Yeah.
he was able to do that based on his experience of
Yes.
building the railway
Yes,
here.
yeah, yes,
So
it is.
the financial people said, okay, you were successful in America with the line between Tamaqua and Port Clinton, will therefore help you finance. So he might not have been able to build in Germany had he not seen.
So his genius then was economics.
Yes, economics.
Economics and business
Yeah.
and pulling the investors together,
Yeah.
right? But not so engineering? I mean,
Not so engineering, no, therefore he,
Well,
He enlisted
Well, he
Monsieur-
enlisted
Monsieur-
monk.
Monsieur, so he had, all right, yeah.
but there was one place that I saw, and the rest of you can help me with this, that said that at least when he had purchased that 10,000 acres plus the other 7, he bought a smaller amount, like 200 or 300 acres for where the city of Tamaqua borough is now. And that he originally laid out the plans for
Yes, it is.
Tamaqua.
See?
That he originally did. Well, yeah, right, that's right. Well, we say the little Schuylkill colon, but that was him.
But there was also the other German that's referenced in Tamaqua's history, and I can't recall his name, but I think you
You know,
wrote it.
Burkhard Moser is
Yes,
a
yeah.
founder. But, well, he built a cabin and established a sawmill, Burkhard Moser.
Burkhard Moser. But did he also lay out, arrange the streets for
Oh,
Tamaqua?
no, I don't believe so, no. That was all the railroad. The railroad did all that.
Oh, the railroad, so it was listed there, just like in Reading, it was the sons of William Penn, Thomas and Richard, that laid out Reading somewhat like Philadelphia was with the center area. But we were wondering who actually did the initial survey work to lay out the streets in Tamaqua, so apparently the railroad underleashed it.
The railroad ran the town back then. Oh, yeah, it spawned the growth of the community. Matter of fact, that line that goes through, the rail line that goes through, even today, divides the town east. The main street is Broad Street. Everything that's east of that rail line is East Broad Street, and everything that's west of the rail line is West Broad. People today, growing up today, think that the highway, US 309, divides it, but it doesn't. It's the rail line that divides the town. And that's something that, for instance, we have a fountain there. That fountain is really on East Broad Street, even though it's located west of Route 309. Most people don't know that. They think the highway divides, is the demarcation line between east and west, but it isn't. So the Little Schuylkill Coal and Navigation Railroad laid out the town, and they really were the reason for the town's growth. Well, the coal, this discovery of coal and shipping and all that.
But you were telling how they moved the river.
Yeah, the river was moved here as well, by the way, much like Port Clinton. It didn't suit where the natural riverbed was, so they.
The newspaper, when we tried to track down the earlier history of Tamaqua, the newspaper really wasn't going full blast until like 1840 or 50. So we didn't have a good record here of what happened prior to that. Right? Is that correct? So when we were trying to find out least involvement, I said, you know, it doesn't seem as though we could go back further in any record like we can with the Adler, which was started in 1797.
Good heavens. See, we weren't even, the log cabin wasn't even built till 1801.
Okay.
1801. Burkhard Moser came here in 1799 and put the log cabin up in 1801.
And then his claim to fame was,
I mean, you had newspapers down there already.
We had log cabin.
Yeah, we had.
but interesting things happened down there when it was the Adler. I just found this out brand new.
Aufnahmen sozusagen machen könnte. Das heißt, was wir auf jeden Fall nachher besichtigen müssen, an der besten Stelle charakteristische Bilder doch zu machen. Das ist die erste Frage. Zweitens, ob bei den...
Darf ich erst mal fragen?
Something about the picture, the first question.
Yeah, he would like to know where we should take some historic photos. What would be the best place to go to make a few pictures of the sites? And do you have any historic photos? That would also be interesting to know if you have any historic photos.
We have a marker that designates the significance of the rail line and all. I mean,
Yeah, that'd be great.
you know, definitely we should go there.
Okay.
And
Tom, perhaps we can, we're going to be running late for lunch, perhaps we can continue this conversation and
At
discussion over lunch to which anyone is invited. You're most welcome to join us over at the restaurant at the station
Okay.
to perhaps meet the professor and join us.
Very nice. Because I would also like to say some sentences about Liszt's actual importance as economist.
He's an economist.
As an economist.
Now he is much more important. Yes, this was much more important as economist, not as his activities as railway pioneers are historic.
I just can't imagine in 7 years he was editor of the newspaper
Yeah,
and
yeah.
built the railroad
He had
in
lots of
7
projects.
years.
He had
I
lots
mean,
of
he was an
projects.
overachiever.
He was an overachiever. It would be a
He
fascinating guy to
needed
talk to.
projects all the time.
I mean, I can see where that suicide thing fits in.
So
It's
brilliant.
like, you know, what, there's limits.
Yeah, he should have been the director of some railroad company in Europe, and they just